This is The Real Story with your host, Jeanne Ives.
Great having you guys listening in tonight. It's Jeanne Ives with The Real Story. The phone number here, 312-642-5600. We have an action-packed show tonight. You're going to hear from some real experts who know what's going on, and we're going to start with Ben Burkham in at 7:15. We'll have him on to talk about the border and the border crisis. This becomes really important when you parallel that with Christopher Wray, the FBI director's comments before to Congress this week, basically laying out the fact that we could have a homegrown security threat here. And then you add in what happened in Chicago just on this Saturday.
I'm going to teach you a chant in Persian that you can use if you ever encounter those Zionist freaks, whether they be Iranian or whatever, all right? Now, I don't drink margaritas, but we all know what a margarita is. We all know what a bar is. So you're going to say, Marg Bar. Marg Bar. Marg Bar Israel. 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 Thank you.
What does that mean?
Oh, so it has two meanings depending on who's asking. It can mean death to or down with. So
can we get a Marg Bar America?
We can get a Marg Bar America. Yes, we can. Marg Bar America.
Marg Bar America.
Marg Bar America.
Marg Bar America.
Thank you.
So did you catch that? Death to America being chanted from the basement of Teamsters Local 786 in Chicago. That's what was going on. That's because it was a March on the DNC 2024 conference. It was on Saturday, began at 9 a.m., ended at 5 p.m. It was at 300 South Ashland Avenue, which happens to be the Teamster building. So I don't know if the Teamsters abide by this. I don't know who decided that they could go ahead and just chant death to America in the basement there, but apparently they were authorized to do it. So you had a whole bunch of people show up to decide how they're going to protest during the Democrat National Convention, which is in August. And they don't want to deal with the permits that the Chicago has laid out. They just want to be able to freely protest whenever they want to. And here you have these folks, these radicals, these absolute radicals chanting death to Israel, death to America, and being taught how to chant it in Farsi. Oh, just isn't that wonderful? Isn't that just nice? Who are these people? Who are these people? Where they come from? What's more important is, did the FBI have any informants in there? Are they going to track them? Are they going to look into their social media? Are they going to do anything about this potential homegrown threat? I mean, it's just remarkable that this is happening. Speaking of the Teamsters, if they are involved in any way in supporting this organization, if they approved their basement to be used for an organization that is chanting death to America, how about all those politicians and political groups give back their donations that they got from the Teamsters? That includes Eileen O'Neill Burke, who took in $25,000 from the Teamsters on March 5th of this year, just ahead of her very close election that she barely won. How about that? How about find out who these people are and their supporters? I mean, they're just an absolute radical group. Unbelievable. And, oh, by the way, masks will be required, it says, if you're going to go to this conference that they had. Masks will be required, and a limited amount of free masks will be made available. Why are they masking? Well, because they want to hide who they are. It's exactly what they want to do. They don't want people to know. They don't want their employers to know. They don't want family and friends to know because they're radicals. They're absolute radicals. I mean, this is exactly what you saw in Detroit. You just saw this last week. Death to America being chanted in Detroit. And then, of course, the people in charge, the Muslims in charge, had to say, oh, they went too far. We really don't mean that. Oh, you really don't mean that. Well, here you go. A week later, and you've got death to America, death to Israel. Being taught in Farsi. Oh, yeah, they think they're really funny. Yes, they do. And then, of course, in the wake of the Iranian attack on Israel, the direct Iranian attack on Israel, nearly 300 drones and missiles fired into Israel. Fortunately, 97% of them were deflected. by Israeli and U.S. and Jordanian forces. Great. That's great. They were deflected. Some of them did hit, though. Some of the injuries did occur. But this is the first time in many years that you've had an Iranian direct attack on Israel. And we're going to have Charles Lipson on. He is a professor emeritus at University of Chicago in political science with a specialty in international relations. He'll be on in my second hour to discuss this. He just wrote a piece about that just today. It went out for American Spectator. So if you want to get a jump on that conversation, you can go there and read that. So we'll have him in to talk about that. But it's a pretty scary situation. And when you double that down with what Ray said, we should all be concerned.
Now, increasingly concerning is the potential for a coordinated attack here in the homeland, akin to the ISIS-K attack we saw at the Russia concert hall just a couple weeks ago.
A chilling warning from the FBI's Christopher Wray to Congress this week. The FBI director outlined the growing worldwide threats to America from terrorists around the world.
Organizations like Al-Qaeda, like ISIS, express an intent to conduct attacks against us. It's something we need to take very seriously.
In the days after the March ISIS-K attack in Moscow that killed more than 130 people, Florida Senator Marco Rubio warned terrorists are moving through America's southern border.
There is a trafficking network out there that specializes in moving people. They do it for profit, moving people and migrants around the world, including across our southern border, who have links to ISIS.
A report this week revealed a man from Afghanistan on the terror watch list crossed the border illegally in 2023 and was apprehended, then released multiple times, including as recently as February. He has no restrictions on his movements until his ICE hearing in 2025. What does a potential attack look like? Experts say it likely wouldn't be on the scale of 9/11, but could come from a homegrown threat inspired by attacks abroad.
Well, what did we just hear in Chicago? Sounds like a homegrown threat to me. And they did just reauthorize the FISA warrants, where the FISA court, and that means that Americans can be spied on. Apparently, they're supposed to be spied on with a warrant, even with this latest rendition that was just...